Coming up on this week's show, author Dr. Lisa Guérin and psychic Angele. I know you'll find this week's show quite fascinating because I've combined people from two completely different realms. And one is from the psychic realm. She's a very, I don't want to say blunt, but I'll say very direct reader. She when she answers questions, and in particular callers' questions to my show, she's very direct. She doesn't pull any punches. This is it. Combined, of course, with my soul oracle cards, I always like to give my input. So we've got Angele this time, and we also have, coming from a new thought perspective, Dr. Lisa Guérin, who calls herself best-selling author. And she made for a fascinating guest as well. We spoke a lot, originally a half-hour show, but for brevity, we're editing this into snippets. We spoke a lot about love. We spoke a lot about new thought, metaphysics, and I know when you hear her speaking with me, it's going to resonate for you. I guess that's it. Let's enjoy Dr. Lisa Guérin and Angele. And I love your taglines. I looked at your website numerous times because I just plain feel good, believe it or not, just looking at the website, feeling it, and looking at what you have to offer. And one of the things that it says is helps entrepreneurs and business owners to empower their mind, maximizing their potential. And I'm sure it's not just entrepreneurs and business people, is it?
No, it's not. It's everyone. So from single mothers to married couples, to young teens, those in college, whether it's junior college or they're in more of a steady college. My goal is to help empower everybody to utilize the gifts that they have within them. And so often we allow fear to take over for us, and we decide that we don't want to do something simply because we're afraid. But in reality, that fear should be your motivation.
Absolutely.
And that's the key piece that I teach people when I'm helping them shift their mindset.
Absolutely. As I glanced at your blog as well, you have numerous tools and numerous topics to help people kind of bypass, if you will, as a clinical hypnotherapist, we kind of get to the root of issues and then they're either healed or people learn how to bypass any self-imposed limitations. And you're doing a very similar thing in your way. On the blog that you write, and again, that's just so not just impressive, that goes without saying, but it's also exciting and motivational in itself, looking at the titles. 10 Insider Hacks for Personal Evolution, Top 10 Habits of Effective People, 7 Tips to Maximize Your Productivity. That is so exciting and so crucial, again, not only for the business person or entrepreneur, but on a personal level for every individual to be aware of. And another tagline, I don't mean to diminish what you do by calling them taglines, but it's mainly for my notes, but do more than just survive. Empower your mind. And isn't that the key to everything, empowering our minds?
Yes, it is, because everything starts with your mental. You can be physically fit, but if you are not mentally fit, that means you're not emotionally fit, and 9 times out of 10, you're neither spiritually fit. And all of those things go hand in hand when you want to change yourself. And I always tell people it's not about change. It truly is about transformation.
Absolutely.
How can you transform? Anybody can help you change something. You can change. After 30 days, things become a habit. But it's about transforming your life. And you start with your mind first.
It happens definitely from the inside out. And where I'm coming from in my education and PhDs and all is New Thought, which essentially states I'm really watering everything down. At the center and nucleus of our very mind is source, as opposed to the libido and other things. And really cleaning up the garbage bin, the trash bin, if you will, of our mind, so that we can be all that we can be, is really where it's at. And essentially, another line that I noticed on your website is mind over matter programs. And essentially that's true. Now, with myself and what I teach, and how I help others to re-empower themselves, if you will, is not necessarily bypassing issues in the mind or mind over matter. It's essentially enhancing everything that is positive in the unconscious mind at the very center and nucleus, so that takes over, which, because I am a Reverend Dr. Michael Ike, I have to speak a little bit in spiritual terms. If source, and I believe source is at the very center and nucleus of our mind, if we allow source to come up from the very center and nucleus of our mind, healing all the various levels of our mind, and then out through the surface mind, we can't help but be better people, but heal issues that we formerly had. And you do this in your own way, using holistic life coaching, group coaching, rejuvenation retreats, business development, and all. Would you care to, if you will, share with us even one tool, even one technique that might help our viewers and listeners out there to perhaps address something and maybe work with that?
Yes. So one of the things in those programs, I actually use natural linguistic programming.
Yes.
So I've actually been doing some of that training, and I called it Mind Over Matters because most people assume that they have to take over their mind in order to control things. And to a point that is true. But what you speak into existence. And that is one of the number one key tools that I work with people on, is starting with affirmations first, because those affirmations become your key source. That is the way you set your mind. That's how you begin to shift the thinking. So in one of my programs, which is 30 Days to Your Personal Evolution, it talks about the routines that you need to do and go through in order to get there. And so some of the things within the first week are learning about self-actualization. It is finding your theme song. What song motivates you when you wake up in the morning? What's your go-to? What gets you moving? Is it I Can Fly by R. Kelly? There are so many things out there that people can do. Along with that, again, is the affirmations. So there are things that I make sure individuals do know, and I help them along that journey so they can get there and they can develop their minds so that they can shift their thinking and their thought process to a more positive light.
It's a very exciting process. Now, you touched on what I refer to as scientific prayer or affirmative prayer treatments, very, very much a part of New Thought metaphysics as well. And in meditative or self-hypnotic states, so that the affirmations you give to yourself go deeper into your unconscious mind, one succeeds in using these tools, which are all very similar. It's unerringly similar, Dr. Lisa. I think that's why we were meant to connect as we are, and as we're sharing. In a level of our mind, there's several levels of our mind that need to be cleaned up, and the affirmative prayer treatments, as I refer to them as, under self-hypnosis or meditative states, they become empowered. They go deeper into the unconscious mind, reprogramming the mind, if you will, so that people can either heal or bypass those issues. I like to heal them as a clinical hypnotherapist of their issues. And then any roadblocks that were self-imposed by my clients, patients, and students, therefore vanish. They melt away, they get sublimated into source light, if you will, and then anything is possible. One can quote unquote manifest one is not getting in one's way. I know I'm popping a lot of popular terms right now, but I really mean that, and I see that we're right on line with the same things, is eliminating any self-imposed hindrances, be they from traumas, if we're going to get a little bit deeper, be they from our environmental causes, maybe our parents spoke to us a certain way, or not that I'm blaming parents, which we shouldn't, but we should at least be aware of what our self-imposed hindrances are sourced in and work through them. Some people say, well, deal with it. I like to say, let's embrace these potential roadblocks and melt them away using these tools. So I'm very excited when you spoke about affirmations, affirmative prayer treatments, if you will, in my languaging. Now in its 11th season, listen and watch Fridays to my podcast and webcast on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Spreaker Radio, Blog Talk Radio, Anchor FM, and YouTube.
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, thank you. My name is Wendy from Sacramento.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for your patience. I see you've been waiting for a while. What's your question for Angele and I?
Well, I've been on an ADA leave since March 9th due to a car accident, and my employer told me last week that even if my doctor wants to extend my medical leave, they will not approve it from their side. And if I do not return to work on November 1st, I will lose my job. So honestly, it's going to make me want to return to work even if I'm in chronic pain. So I just wonder what's going to happen. Will I be able to keep my job? And will my supervisor agree to give me retraining in the 8-week structured class? Because that would help me a lot. It's my learning style. So if you could teach the 8-week class as a retraining, that would help immensely.
Well, I'll hand it over to Angele. She's already dealt out a few cards to reflect what's going on.
So I'm using the Osho Zen deck, and it's a very beautiful deck. The first card that I pulled out for you was the slowing down. Second was we are the world. The third is maturity. The first card, slowing down, it's definitely representing really slowing down, taking inventory, like that course that you're wanting to take. So what's happening is the universe, God, spirit, source is actually supplying you the opportunity to slow down. So I wouldn't really be too much of a rush to get anything done. We Are the World is really asking you to be able to, again, slow down and take a look at your participation in the world around you and how you contribute to it. The maturity is definitely you're moving. There's a lot of growth happening for you. So I do feel like that is a good, your course is a good direction for you to go into. However, right now at this point in time, it's really about slowing down. So I really watch your thinking about worrying about how it's all going to unfold. Just take this moment and breathe that in and look for your direction, because you are maturing and it's all for you to step out into to do what it is that you're meant to do, your life purpose, what's going to bring you the most joy.
Thank you, Angele. I agree 1,000%. And I think you phoned in before, and I really appreciate the fact that you phoned back, caller, if that's you. And what I'm getting a very important message as well, which jives with Angele's message, but sort of expands on it as well. I know that in this physical, illusionary world, we need to make a living. We need to do things. And you might be tempted right now by fear, by anxiety, by all these normal human things to jump back into work. Well, let's look at this. If you don't, there might be financial issues. There may not be financial issues. The universe, and I found this through many years, more than 30 years of life experience, where either I've gotten into a car accident and broke my ankle, for example. This was back in the early 80s. And I was forced to slow down. Back then I was a magician, a graphic designer, and cartoonist. And I was just running myself ragged. The universe stepped in, boom. and stopped me cold with a broken ankle and stitches to my face, and I had no choice but to slow down. And I believe that's what's going on as well. Now, in the time period that you've had to slow down, I hope you've taken the time to kind of reassess who you are, who you really are, where you're going in your life, what you want and what you don't want. Because even though it seems we don't have choices in this lifetime, we really do. And it's often too easy for us to jump back into old patterns or old jobs or old ways of thinking. And there's nothing wrong with that if we feel comfortable. But if it's not actually serving us or humanity above all, then this is why we're presented with situations like what you were presented with. So this being said, I feel that November might be a starting off point. You may be able to combine a few things in your life and maybe start again in November. But the time that you had off hopefully would have been a reflection period. Hopefully it would be a time where you could take a breath and you could feel good about yourself and your life and things around you. If during that time frame you did not feel good about your life, it's time to take action. So you can still maybe go back to work if you're so desiring, but I get a sense that you're not really desiring. Do it. There's a way to compromise in a good way, not compromise yourself, but compromise. There's a way to have a foot in both worlds. That's in the black and white material world and in the shades of gray spiritual world, if you will. And that's where the real work happens, in the spiritual part. And so go back to work if you feel you really should and you need that income, but do the spiritual work. We're between the two of us, we're tons of resources. Angele can be reached through her Facebook page, for example, My Happy Medium. I can be reached as well in numerous ways. Just look on the Blog Talk page and you'll see how to get in touch with us. If you want to, in your spare time, evolve yourself a little bit, and you'll find as you evolve, you panic less. You'll find as you evolve, you reprioritize things. Things no longer become a panicky situation. And believe me, I think between the two of us and many listeners out there, you've gone through a lot of stuff. And the reason that is so that you can go through a lot of stuff in the future and have it be like water off a duck's back, and really take it in and release it for the greater good. Now I'm going to pick a card for you because we are running a little bit short of time. Please feel free to phone back again anytime. I'm very grateful that you did call in. So without looking, I'm going to pick a card from my Soul Oracle cards, which I created from my book, Spiritual Mind Science, the spiritual laws of the universe. Interesting. This is number 52, the law of availability. And that means availability on all levels, mind, body, spirit. And that's who you are. I get an exciting sense from her, right? I get an exciting sense that you're right open, you're ripe for growth. And that jives with...
I pulled a couple of cards while you were talking, and one of them was sharing, and the second one was receptivity. So the law of availability fits right into that.
Perfect.
So really being open, sharing your experiences, sharing who you are, sharing with the universe, and then also at the same time, please, being open and receptive to what it has to for you to receive.
Excellent. So caller and Angele and everyone within earshot of this program, I want to share an affirmative prayer. It's always channeled, in case you didn't know, but I'm sure most of you out there know that. So I'm going to ask that we all sit comfortably, either in our chairs or in our recliners, with feet planted firmly on the ground to kind of ground ourselves. Back as straight as can be to facilitate the flow of Kundalini energy up our spine. Gently closing our eyes, caller. We take the sacred breath in, releasing with a sound. We gaze in now upon our brow or third eye area and upon our heart chakra or soul chakra. And we begin to envision or image two lights at our crown area and at our heart chakra area, our brow area growing larger, ever brighter. And it could be any color, as long as it feels good, as long as it feels familiar. Similarly, that light at our heart chakra area growing ever stronger, ever brighter as well. our breathing becomes more relaxed as we breathe into these lights and the lights breathe into us. A newness, a wholeness, these lights merging into one, filling our entire upper torso as if it were a hollow. And this bright light extends now beyond our physical body ad infinitum. We dwell now in this upper room of consciousness, in this matrix of peace, love, joy, harmony, higher intelligence, wisdom, and creativity, who and what we truly are. For God is omnipotent, omnipresent, omnipotent. And as we identify with our very source, as we realize that source, our maker, and I are we are who we are, who we are. And as we breathe into this wholeness, a calm occurs, reconfiguring every single one of the trillions of cells of our body, all of the liquids, all of the cells, all of the tissues of our body, reconfiguring to the original divine design that was intended. In this light of wholeness, in this light of higher awareness in which we dwell, we realize now that we are open to receive our prosperity. We accept that all is coming to ourselves and is already ours in the mind of the universe. And we give thanks for this knowing of wholeness and prosperity, wisdom and abundance this day. And we release this word, knowing that it shall, can, will return to us, multiplied of itself, never void. In gratitude and appreciation, we give thanks for this knowing of prosperity, abundance, wisdom, and joy this day and every day. And we release the word, taking the sacred breath in, releasing with a sound. I want to thank you so much, caller, for joining us this day. Feel free to call us back next time we're doing this. Peace and richest blessings. Expand your consciousness and awareness with Dr. Michael's more than 40 paperback books of a self-help, mystical, new thought, and metaphysical nature, available from Amazon. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Peace and richest blessings.